Broadcasting from the KMF Collective Studio, it's time for the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. This limited release show features the stories of the 2020 contestants of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's athletic competition, NBC's The Titan Games. Now, here's your host, Katie Galley.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. I'm your host, Katie Galley. In the KMF Collective Studio with me today, I have Titan Games athlete, police canine instructor and handler, and former collegiate football player, Blake Broadhurst. How are you doing, Blake?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for stopping by and sharing your story with us today.
Oh, it's an honor.
Absolutely. So, Blake, just to kind of get to know you a little bit, get the ball rolling, I wonder, where did you grow up and how, if at all, was your childhood shaped by athletics?
Well, I actually grew up in a military family. My dad is an ex-Special Forces Ranger, so I think that kind of played in to how I became an athlete and even a police officer. Mm-hmm. But growing up, my parents wanted to keep me busy, keep me focused, keep me out of trouble, so they put me in sports year-round. And it didn't matter what sports, tennis, swimming, soccer, wrestling. Basically, they just put me in a myriad of them just to give me the skill and the experience.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, getting involved, giving you that structure and kind of that cadence of learning all the discipline that goes along with sports. And so for you, was there a particular sport that you really took to and loved or at that young age?
Actually, most of the time I played soccer throughout my childhood, but it wasn't until my dad actually wanted to put me in football. And my mom was completely against it because she thought it was too rough and violent. Yeah. But I got out there, and I was a shining star. And when I got that taste of the cheering, the training, and the old school mentality that my coaches had, I just really took to it and kind of shot off with it.
Yeah. And so was there a time, I mean, once you fell in love with football and learned, wow, I have this aptitude for it, I can really excel at this sport, did you immediately realize, okay, I want to see how far I can take this sport, I want to go to the collegiate level or the professional level, or were you really just kind of existing in the time of, okay, I love this sport and I'm just going to do what I can with it?
Actually, as soon as I started taking to it, I just wanted to be successful at it, and that's what I'm always like. Everything I do, I want to be the best at. The best I can possibly be, not particularly the best, but everything I can do to excel at it. And once I looked at this and I saw where I can go with it, I was like, man, I can go to college with this. I can go to pro with it. I was like, I'm going to train as hard as I can and exhaust all resources until I get to where I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I love that perspective. You want to be the best that you can possibly be. So not necessarily meaning you're going to be the best athlete to ever walk onto a football field. It's that you are going to push your own boundaries and your own successes and see how far you can go. And so, Blake, for you, how did that ultimately lead you to become a collegiate football player?
Well, once I got into the training, and I had several great coaches, very old school, blue collar guys that were teaching me about honor, respect, hard work, dedication. Once I got into that, I really bought into the lifestyle of it. Mm-hmm. And it taught me how to basically function at a high level in chaos, function at a high level with a teammate, and function at a high level as an individual. So what I did is I just started training. I started studying. I started giving my my time and my life to being the best I could possibly be. And it actually materialized my senior year when I went out there and I just started making plays. I wasn't on a great team. I had some great players with me, but I went out there and I performed, and it led me to a full-ride scholarship to Troy University to play receiver.
Wow. I mean, and that's amazing. I mean, it's a testament to, of course, that the fact that hard work pays off. You had everything, you put the work in, and like you said, it all aligned, and it led you to be able to continue on to that next level. And so then for you, Blake, did you have aspirations once you made it to the collegiate level and started competing? Did you think, okay, I want to see if I can make a career out of this, become a professional football player, or did you already know that you wanted to go become a police officer?
Oh, this is the crazy part. So I have never had any interest. My dad is a police officer as well, currently. Even my brother is. but I never wanted to be a police officer. Never had any interest in tactics or driving a cop car or anything like that. I've always wanted to be a professional athlete in the NFL.
Yeah.
But where my journey came to, I ended up going to Troy University on a scholarship. But when I got there, they had changed systems. They had changed the type of athletes that they wanted. They wanted the bigger, taller, more agile athletes compared to my shorter, stockier, quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went there, I didn't get an opportunity at all.
Wow.
And it was heartbreaking because I remember the moments where they're taking all the athletes, the scholarship athletes, and they're telling them, hey, we're going to Nebraska for the first time in their history to face a big, huge Division I team, and my name wasn't on that list. And I was devastated.
Yeah.
Because I was standing on top of a stadium looking down, watching the buses leave without me. And as I did that for the 4 years, I continued. I said, you know what? I'm going to keep sticking to it. I'm not going to let this hold me down. I'm going to be on that roster every year. I'm going to be starting. I'm going to show these guys I can do it. Well, it didn't work out that way. So I learned so much from the struggle, probably more than I would have from the success.
That's a great perspective, learning from the struggle moreover than the success. I mean, of course, it would have been amazing to be able to compete with the team and go to those games, but reflecting back and being able to say, wow, I learned so much more in those times of feeling that loss and that heartbreak and dejection than you would have if you had been successful and gone to compete.
Almost definitely.
Yeah. And so then from there, Blake, I mean, having kind of that gut-wrenching, crushing feeling of, wow, I didn't get to compete. I didn't see that dream realized of competing at the collegiate level fully, then, or being able to play in those games. Where did you set your sights on? Did you still have aspirations then to try and continue to play football in some capacity after college, or what happened next?
Well, I continued my career. I ended up, obviously, they're going to put me on the traveling team. I went on the traveling team. I played a lot of special teams. Mm-hmm. I could not get above that ceiling. They just, I don't know what it was, but they would not let me play. Mm-hmm. It came down to my last senior game where they just ran out of people. And they're like, Blake, you're in. And there's my opportunity now. I go out there, and I made 2 great plays. It was on TV. It was on ESPN. And I watched it after. And they go, where has this kid been? He's a senior. He hasn't had any stats. Why hasn't he been playing? And hearing them say that, and not just being me, being like, hey, why am I not out here? Mm-hmm. It renewed me wanting to go and further my career in the NFL. But even during that time, what I did is I started working hard in the weight room, but I started branching off and working better in the books. Mm-hmm. And I started educating myself and being more of a elite athlete instead of just an athlete. And once I left college, I tried out for several teams in the NFL. It did not work. And I played arena ball for about a year.
Wow. It's amazing, though, that you were able to redirect. You knew you had this goal of playing football at the next level, and so then you flipped and decided, okay, I'm going to go in with arena ball. And so from there, Blake, deciding, okay, I'm going to play arena ball, and then but also having that recognition of, okay, I also want to become this elite student athlete, not just an elite athlete. So diving all in your academics as well. With that academic side, where were you looking to go? What did you major in? What kind of career were you looking to have after football had come to a close?
Well, actually, what I got at my degree in was sports broadcast journalism. And I figured since I've always been an athlete, if I can't make it to the next level, I have enough knowledge and experience, I could report on it and do that. And I started gearing towards that field. I tried it out for a year at a television station. I didn't like it. It wasn't my type of job. I wasn't happy truly doing it. So there was more to what I could do with my life. So I just decided to become a teacher, and I did that for several years.
Oh, wow. And so what made you decide to make that shift from sports broadcasting into becoming a teacher?
Well, I've always wanted to stay in that sports route, so I was like, if I become a teacher, I can become a coach. Mm-hmm. So what I ended up doing is I ended up working for former Browns Hall of Famer Jim Brown. And he had a program that he took from the prisons, and he brought it to the schools and tailored it to youth kids that were struggling. And I thought, what a better way than to use my life and use my skills and my experience than to go in this classroom and teach these kids and mentor these kids and be with these kids in their life, like a coach, but still teaching.
Yeah, I love that. So it's kind of, again, redirecting. So maybe you weren't able to continue on with your own athletic football career, but you could help that next generation through your own authentic experiences and guide them in that way. So focusing in on academics as well as athletics and helping push them through that. And so then for you, Blake, how did then you ultimately make the shift from being a teacher and coach into being a police canine instructor and handler?
Well, this is kind of a sidebar, but I think our nation, like as a nation, as athletes, especially young athletes that do this for a lifetime. I can vouch for football players because that's what I did. Mm-hmm. I think we're kind of done a disservice overall through the school system, through the coaching, through the sports, and I think that disservice is we do this so much, and our ultimate dream is to become a professional athlete. That once we're done with athletics, and if we don't make that athletic pro athletes level, we lose our identity. Mm-hmm. And we don't know what to do with ourselves. And we're like, man, we're used to be athletic studs, and now we're normal people, so to say, quote unquote. And we don't know what to do because we've always been an athlete. We've always done stuff as a team. And that was my struggle because I went to teaching, and I was like, this is not enough for me. I'm not satisfied and fulfilled because all I'm doing is teaching, and I have so much more that I can give physically and mentally. Yeah. And it was actually my dad that came up to me. He goes, son, you're not going to work in an office. You're going to have a hard time working in a classroom. He goes, why don't you try to become a police officer? And I thought about it, and I go, you know what? Sure. Let's give this a try. I always believed in honor, righteousness, and freedom. And I've always wanted to stand up against tough things. I saw a lot of people getting bullied, a lot of people mistreated, victims of crime. And as a civilian, I could never do anything about it because you can get in trouble yourself. You don't have the skills, you don't have the tools, you don't have the backing. And I saw this was an opportunity to switch from a teacher to a police officer and to actually live the values that I was taught at a young age. So that's kind of how I came over to the law enforcement side.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, you made that pivot, that transition in pursuit of something that had long been on your heart, those core values, and then you were able to manifest them into a next career step. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that transition from being an athlete into, quote, the real world. I mean, you go through that loss of identity and that struggle, and it's coming up to battle with who am I if I'm not this athlete anymore? And so you have to go through that process of learning you are so much more than just that athlete. And all those tenets and disciplines that you learned as an athlete will help carry you through in whatever career or path you choose to go down next. But you have to learn that. And it's so hard because, I mean, it's something that you carry with you your whole life. If you've been an athlete since the time you were small all the way up until you're 22, 23, 24 years old, it's how do you let go of that? And so how do you kind of disassociate your athlete identity from who you are, because they are synonymous, or they've been synonymous for so long. So that is a really great point. But I love how you were able to recognize that while you were teaching, and how you had your dad to mentor you and guide you. And then you had the other realization that you could use all those tools and go into a career as a police officer.
Oh my gosh, that was like perfectly said. I couldn't have said that even better.
Well, you said it. I just put it all together. But it's just, I love that. It's such a trend in your story, utilizing those skills and pushing forward. And so, Blake, for you then, so going, obviously, having that passion then to help people and stand up for what is right, going into becoming a police officer, how did that ultimately transition into specifically working in the K-9 unit?
Well, my background in law enforcement, I've been at my department. It's a Metro Department in Central Florida. I've been there for about 12 years now. Okay. And in my experience there, I've been on the SWAT team as an assault guide. I've been on 2 proactive units where we actively go looking for robbers and burglars and stuff like that. And I've also been a field training officer where I train the new guys that are coming in. So I've got a gambit of experience. And the main core of that is I love going out there and being tactical and going and finding the worst of the worst that are out there, the ones that are hurting our citizens, our community, that are depriving them of their safety and their peace of mind overall. And that's when I say freedom. It's a freedom to be able to come out of your house and enjoy our communities. And sometimes criminals take that away from our citizens and us. And Canine is the best thing because I have a partner who is willing to work his butt off. No complaints, no regrets, no problems. He comes out with the same energy every time. And he's looking to do the same thing I am, keep peace and change the world.
Wow.
And it's all about training. It's all about bonding, a relationship, and experience. And with him, with a dog, and I'm not even a dog person. People laugh at me. They're like, "You don't like dogs?" I like dogs, but I'm not like a dog person. Well, I'm in love with him. I'm in love with my canine, and I'm in love with him because he represents the hard work that we do. He represents all the good that is out there, and the honesty and the goodness of heart. And that's why I love Canine, because it's training. It's real world applications, and I come home completely exhausted, but I know I did a great job. I know I did it with him. So
wow, I love that. That's so beautifully said. And so, the canine that you work with, have you been with him for long? Have you recently started training him? How does it work once you're paired with a dog? How long do you stay with him?
Well, currently, my partner's name is Champion. He's actually named after The Rock. Funny enough, because when he was the People's Champion, so I said, "Man, how great would that be? We're out here, we're serving the people, and you're the champion. You're going to be the best dog. I'm going to work with you." So I was like, "People's Champ, like The Rock."
Yep.
But we've been together so far for 5 years. What we done? He came in at 1 year old. And basically from then on, they put us through hundreds and hundreds of hours of training courses each year to make sure that we set the standard and we're efficient in what we do. And we should be together hopefully at least another 2 before he retires. Usually we keep them for 7 or 8 years.
Okay. Wow. So for these dogs, I guess how the whole process works, are these dogs specifically bred to become police dogs, and then different police units you guys get the dogs and then you put them through the training? How does the initial steps of the process work?
So we have a pretty metro department. Overall, all of our dogs are screened very thoroughly, and we're all born and bred to be police dogs, so they have all the things that it takes. Even from that point, even though they're born and bred, we still purchase them, bring them into our training facility, and then continue to stress them, train them, and proof them to make sure that they're police ready, street ready, to make sure they can do the job that we ask them to do. So I think we thoroughly do a great job of screening for great police dogs to serve a community.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so then for, I guess on the back end, like you said, so you go through hundreds of rigorous hours and, of course, having to yourself and your dogs going through all this training on the back end after they've kind of lived their 7 years, within the police academy and doing their work. On the back end, in their retirement, do you get to, keep Champion, or will he go up for adoption? How does that piece work?
They give us the option to purchase him back so that he can live the rest of his retirement with my family.
Yeah.
As he's basically my second son. But they give us the option. Most of us do take him in our household. Sometimes it gets a little crazy when you get to third or fourth dog.
Yeah.
We can also find homes for him. So sometimes if we can't take him in, we'll go out there and we'll actually search for great homes for them to retire and kind of relax and be taken care of.
Yeah. I love that. And I mean, that really is, I love your perspective. It's so unique being able to work in the canine unit. And I love, what you said, how you really have the hardest working partner, and they're going to give it your champion is going to give him his all every single day. And so Blake, in that vein, of course, it's clear that you have a love for The Rock after naming your dog after the People's Champion. And so I wonder, how did you become a contestant on this season of the Titan Games?
Well, oddly enough, I am not a social media person at all.
Yeah.
A year ago, I had no social media whatsoever. But my wife, who is probably my biggest advocate, she's amazing. She came to me. I walk in, and it's been a long, tough day. I walk in, I'm sweating, I'm gross. And Champ walks in side by side, and she's holding up the phone. And she looks at me. She goes, "This is for you." And I go, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "This right here." And she plays The Rock's calling out to the nation, to the common man and female, to come out there and be an athlete and challenge yourself and push yourself. And one thing my wife will tell you, I'm restless. I'm always restless. I'm always looking to push myself. I'm always trying for a new challenge. I always need something to kind of go for. And she knows I'm not happy unless I have something to kind of work towards. So when she saw this, she goes, "This is you." And I said, I got excited. I was like, "Man, this is Dwayne Johnson." I was like, he represents so much positivity, and he's a bad dude.
Yeah.
I mean, look at his characters. I was like, I want to be like his Hobbs in Fast and the Furious. He's a cool guy. This gives me an opportunity, and I was like, you know what? On my bucket list, I wanted to meet him in person. That was my goal. I wanted to have a conversation and sit down and talk to him. And that night, I actually got on it. I started working on outlines, videos, and what ended up happening, I went for season 1. They brought me in for season 1 to the Combine, but I didn't make it for the filming.
Mm-hmm.
And then season 2 came up, and I was like, you know what? I will not be denied. I'm getting on this show.
Yep.
I'm going to compete. So I sent another video in. I tailored some of the stuff a little bit differently, and I got the call to come to season 2 and compete at the Combines, and they ended up giving me a shot at actual filming. So I was super excited.
Wow. I love that. And that's crazy too. You know, no social media presence, but you still, of course, became aware of the show. And just having that desire to really, I love that you're restless and wanting to constantly achieve more and push for those successes. And so clearly, Blake, you've had this, affinity for The Rock. You've known about him. You named your dog after him. So for you, I wonder, do you remember the first time that you became aware of who The Rock was and how or why he inspired you so much to this point that you would wanted to meet him, go after this Titan Games and be on the show?
I remember the first time, but I kind of always related with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a football player. He's an athlete. And then he went out and wanted to be a professional athlete. It didn't work out for him.
Right.
And one thing I've always admired is he did the same thing I did, and I modeled it after him. He looked and said, what else can I do with my skills and my talent? And he turned it into the wrestling. And I remember he was on stage, and I'm not a wrestling fan, but I watched it because I liked him. I liked his persona. And I'm a very quiet person, an introvert. But when I watched him, the energy he came out with, and he did the little chant, "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?" Mm-hmm. And when he did that, it gave me goosebumps. And I was like, man, I like what he puts out there. I like who his persona is. I like his positivity. I like his hard work. He was an envision of who I wanted to be. Wow. As an athlete, as a person, electric, and standing for so many different characteristics that were, I guess you'd say, admirable. Mm-hmm. So when I saw him on that stage, I said, man, that would be so cool to be like that person, to take some of those characteristics and make it into who I am personally. Yeah. So when I saw the opportunity to actually go out there, and I was like, man, he could see who I am, and I can watch myself grow into a better me by taking some of the stuff that he's put out there. Mm-hmm. And when I saw the opportunity, I had to go for it.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I love that. And I think it's so true. You see such a direct reflection of his story in your own, and then being able to kind of walk through that, see his own story. And then too, I really like what you just said about how you would watch him in wrestling, and you saw that persona and what he put out there, and it gave you chills, even though that was something that maybe you could never envision yourself doing yourself, never being in front of a crowd or yelling or getting the crowd amped up, but you saw yourself in him in those other ways, and to be inspired by that. And I love that. So being able to see see yourself in him, in his story, and be able to reflect that. So then, like you said, there was no option. You were going to go after this and see what you could do. And just, again, going after season 1 and then going again, like you said, I loved it. This was going to happen. You were going to figure out a way to get on to season 2.
That was a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, Blake, for you, having gone through this entire incredible experience and looking forward and just being able to reflect back on everyone you had the chance to meet, including The Rock, I wonder, what is your definition of a Titan?
I say my definition of a Titan, I think most people are going to look at it as number 1, or the best overall. I think the definition of the Titan is someone who perseveres, someone who can push themselves past their comfort level and past their skill limits to reach another level, maybe the elite level for them. One thing I've learned when I talk to all the different contestants, as a police officer, unfortunately, we meet people at their worst point sometimes when their lives are not going great. And to go out there and meet all these people who are amazing at their job and who are elite at what they do in so many different realms and worlds, it was actually inspiring, because it reminded me that I'm not the only one out here working my butt off trying to be the best I can possibly be. There's so many other people out there like me, and that motivates me even more. Yeah. So I'll say just being a Titan, I think it means somebody who really aspires to be the best that they can possibly be, and they're successful at it because they never quit, and they're always reinventing themselves and trying to be taking that pedestal to the next level, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I like to how you put it's not, again, reflecting back to what you said earlier, it's not that you're going to be the best football player to ever live. You are going to be the best you that you can possibly be. You are going to push your own standards and your own limits. And so seeing that in all of these people that you had the chance to meet through the Titan Games, seeing all these Titans being the best in their industries and their careers, not because they're necessarily number 1 in their industry, but because they work the hardest and they put themselves out there just like you did. And so I love that's a really amazing perspective.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And so Blake, now, I mean, looking again, reflecting back, you've accomplished so incredibly much. And again, I love what you said, being restless, knowing that you're going to achieve so much more and setting these incredible lofty goals and just getting after them. I just have one final question that I ask all of my interviewees. What do you want to be remembered for?
Wow. I was prepared for everything else you asked, but that one that's I want to be remembered for giving my life. And to explain that a little bit further, I think we're all born with a purpose. I think we're all given the opportunity to be amazing, to be elite. So I want to live my life, and this is the way I'm doing it, I feel. 110 miles per hour. Everything I do is 110 miles per hour. Whether I'm parenting my kids, whether I'm being a husband, or I'm being a police officer, I want to give my life to whatever I'm doing. So if I'm out there being a Titan, I'm giving everything I got, all my thought, all my heart, all my efforts. Whether I'm being a father, all my patience, all my knowledge, all my love, husband, being the best partner I can possibly be. Or if it's a police officer, I'll have the most courage, have the most training, and going out there and just giving it all to everybody else that deserves it. Because not everybody deserves to have my life. But to those who are willing to love me, those who are willing to listen and take what I have as experience in life, I just want to give it out there. And hopefully it will benefit whatever realm that I'm giving it to.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's installment of the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. To learn more about each of these Titan athletes, be sure to check out their information in the links in my show notes. Furthermore, to stay up to date on all things coming out of the KMF Collective, be sure to subscribe to the Keep Moving Forward YouTube channel and follow along on social media, also available in the show notes. As the creator of the Titan games, Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson says, "Titans aren't born, they're made." And I hope today's story helped you realize all that you are capable of becoming if you put in that hard work and just keep moving forward.